Let's finish the discussion because we have to let one of my guests go. Let's talk briefly about Kalonzo Musyoka, head of the Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Committee on Peace in South Sudan. One, what does this mean for Kalonzo? And secondly, what does this mean for Raila? And in the spirit of the handshake, Raila got in with a handshake and got out with something. Now, Kalonzo got in. The other day, he declared, nitakuwa mtu wa mkono wa President Uhuru, and suddenly, they're announcing this. But,
foremost, I think it is really a good thing for Kalonzo. Kalonzo is a career diplomat, and his input, especially in peace building across the region, cannot be gainsaid. And it still takes me back to what I stated. I think it is a good thing that the top leadership in this country is realizing that they are better off working together. Whether this translates to anything for the common mwananchi or not is a totally different question. And critically, actually up to the signing of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement in 2005 in South Sudan, you realize actually it is Kalonzo who was spearheading that process. I'm imagining in this particular case he has a rich history in terms of really where the conflict started, the parties involved, because most of them are people he has known and worked together with for a long time. I would imagine it is going to be, it is a plus for the people of Sudan. Again, you realize, based on the recent shifts, especially economically, within the EAC, whereby Tanzania and even recently like Uganda is exiting the plans on the SGR, and Rwanda and Burundi are already doing it with Tanzania. Kenya has really no other way other than getting involved in stabilizing South Sudan, because that is likely to remain our most strategic partner, especially within, you see, even the LAPSET project is near almost dying, because there was hopes to work with Ethiopia and South Sudan and Uganda. And Ethiopia now is already, the new prime minister is a game changer. Now they're looking further north and east. And Uganda is teaming up with Tanzania. And so Kenya is beginning to get isolated. And tragically, the reality is this is purely out of the bad politics we've been through for the last 6 years.
okay.
Yes.
Well, I think Kalonzo's appointment is welcome. I do not agree with how he may have pitched for it, but it was bound to happen. And he is a person I respect. He is a gifted diplomat. He fits in that with absolute perfection. Just as, you know, you throw the Right Honorable Raila Odinga into infrastructure, you have just thrown him into his waters of comfort. And so JMEC, which is IGAD's initiative, is one of the very, very important initiatives. It was headed by Festus Mogae, the former president of Botswana. And that just shows you how much it elevates the stature of the former vice president, Kalonzo Musyoka. You know, Kalonzo is reputed for being one of the political leaders in this country who, even if his name is mentioned in theft or graft, there is consensus across board he did not steal too much. And so he is not the multi-billionaire guy. And his skill is needed at this time as we stabilize South Sudan for strategic reasons. Apart from aligning in terms of, you know, the region, you need to understand that South Sudan is one of the most endowed in terms of mineral and oil in this region. We need them. Besides just aligning politically for the region, as Ben was explaining, we still need them. And if we play part in their stability, remember Kalonzo was one with the former General Sumbewo. Yeah. They were the ones who brokered a deal to let Sudan allow South Sudan, you know, to secede and self-determination. And so he goes into waters that he knows too well. He walks in at a time when generally things have been pacified, to try and see if Riek Machar and Salva Kiir Mayardit can now forge the country forward.
And the five other vice presidents.
Yes, and the 5 other pseudo vice presidents, you know. So it's a welcome thing. I remember Kalonzo took the leaders of Ukambani to State House for a meeting with the president. because this handshake should unify the whole country, and there is one part of the country that cannot be allowed to look like it has been left in the cold, quote unquote. Because what it seems like is that the handshake is a tool of inclusion. So President Kalonzo Musyoka, Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka, can you bring to the table what you had thought you would do as Vice President to Raila Odinga had you made government? And President Kenyatta says, from Prime Minister Raila Odinga, can you offer me what is in your manifesto that's a departure from what's in mine? Let's sit and agree on what you think can make the country better had you been the president today. And so we wish him well in his new appointment, but we hope it doesn't stop there and that it doesn't just become an income earner for the former vice president. His voice of reasoning is still needed in the country to speak when things go wrong, even when the government itself does not do as it ought to do to its people. He should render himself useful in that sense.
The fact that everyone who is now joining President Uhuru Kenyatta has to get something?
Well,
next will be Mudavadi, then we'll see Wetangula.
No, yesterday I saw a caricature with Raila walking in. He was the first to walk out
with
of the
government building?
No, out of the kitchen with a plate.
You walk into the government building with a plate written AU.
No, with a chicken on top of it. Then now I'm imagining the rest of
Kalonzo Musyoka were online.
No, I don't want us to reduce this to tokenism.
But that's what he looks like.
I want us to view this as Uhuru being the older brother, the bigger boy, the more reasonable person to say, you know what, there is no need for me to block you from doing something you're passionate about that you can deliver on. He's not brought them in as president or as ministers in his cabinet. He's just allowed them because there needs to be consensus for you to have a regional role. Raila would not have a regional role, however much he has earned a good name as a Pan-Africanist in the region. The AU has to ask the president of his country if he can be allowed to serve. And that's the same for Kalonzo. So Uhuru, I think, has just decided to be the bigger brother, to say, I meant it when I said handshake. So I am not going to be here behaving all juvenile, blocking you from an opportunity that you deserve to have to boost your stature in the region, as well as if it works for your politics in 2022, so be it. Great. Gentlemen, I have to let you go. I have to let you go. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. And we'll always do this again. I know we are heading towards the end of the year. There's a lot still to talk about, and we'll definitely be coming. Ben, you have something pressing?
Very pressing, because you see there's this ongoing conference.
Yes, the China Expo.
The Expo. And the truth is that imbalance is something that genuinely needs to be addressed urgently. And it should not be the regular PR we are seeing expos and those kinds of things. Like we just were talking about the avocados and the mangoes and all that. I mean, Kenya has one of the most arable and the best arable lands we have across the continent. Unfortunately, we are not tapping into this. And the fact that we have not continued to invest in localizing our industries, even now when China challenges us to export, what exactly are we taking to China? You see, there's a very sad story I read yesterday about the young boys who are being killed in Dandora by the police. Fair enough, they are criminals. They have been terrorizing residents in that area for, and I'm sure anybody who has fallen under the hands of these young people, the gangsters, you'd easily support the actions of the police. But on the flip side, this is the question Kenyans should be asking themselves as we live. For the last now 5 years, we have sunk into our economy, or our budgets have run to the excess of 10 trillion shillings in the last 5 years. What economic opportunities are we creating for these young people? We are never going to kill these young people enough to stop crime. It has never worked anyway on this planet. These are just young people who are desperate. There are no economic opportunities. And these opportunities are largely agriculture. Agriculture can employ 80% of the population of this country. Unfortunately, what we are seeing at Kiunjuri's office is theatrics. And really, I think the president needs to stamp down his foot, because agriculture is immediate. We have a rain season that is coming up in March, which even by March next year, we can absorb 1 million Kenyans into agriculture with a proper structure.
Okay.
If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Exactly.
Department of Cooperatives, the SASRA, which is SACCO's regulatory authority, as well as the county governments, must deliberately decide to organize our peasants, our farmers who do not do large scale, our small scale farmers, into groups that can produce, because there is power in numbers in virtually everything, including agriculture. So we may have the opportunity to export avocado, but unless the county government of Kisii and the county government, let's say of Meru, works with the Department of Cooperatives to cobble us up into an entity that is recognizable outside the country as an organization or company, we can't transact as a person singularly.
To be difficult
to do an export. Now, unless and until we achieve that, we are going nowhere. It has been the basis for the success of coffee or tea. They have merely succeeded in the exports, in exporting their product, because they have been highly organized. So if we do not plan, we fail.
Absolutely.
Great, a good place to end. Thank you, David, and thank you, Ben, for speaking to us. We'll do this again.